Welcome back to episode 5 of Valley Sports Talks. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the NFL and where we think each top free agent will sign. As always, my name is Noah, and I'm joined by
Brandon
and Max.
And we will start right away with our top 5 free agents in general this offseason. So to start off, we're going to do that. Then we're going to go into predicting where each will sign. I think we have
a lot.
10, 12, 14, 16, 18 top we think are the top free agents on the market this season. And then after that, we will go into our overrated, underrated of teams going into next season. So we will get it started right away with our top 5 list.
Take it away, Maxie.
All right, so number 1, I have Dak Prescott. I think he's not by far, but he's definitely the biggest name in this free agency. I think all 3 of us have him as our number 1 guy. I could be wrong.
He's my number 1.
We all have him as number 1. He's my number 1 as well.
Yeah,
quarterbacks of his caliber don't usually hit the open market very often.
Exactly. I feel like he's been talked about so much just in terms of where he's going, is he staying,
he's gonna get. I still feel like he's gonna get franchised.
I do too.
Yeah, there's a good chance. Like,
there's so many people on the Cowboys that could get franchised.
They're front office, Jerry.
They got a lot of money though.
Yeah, that's true.
Jerry Jones, right? That's his name.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, he loves stacks, so I see him staying there. My second free agency pick was Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers.
I think we
really
got the
talented.
list,
Yeah, it's going to be very.
He's on mine, but he's not 2.
Our lists are very similar, and then Chris Godwin number 2 for the Buccaneers. Number 3, I have Allen Robinson for the Chicago Bears.
He's not 3, but he's on mine.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see where he goes, and then number 4, Mr. PED himself, Will Fuller.
I don't know.
And my last pick was Levante David, the linebacker for the Buccaneers. So, yeah, I'm interested in seeing where those 5 go out of all the players.
I'll go quickly. I had the same list as Max, except for instead of Levante David, I put Kenny Galladay from the Detroit Lions.
Fair enough.
That's literally the only difference I had.
You had Fuller?
Yeah.
Where was he? At what number?
Okay, so I went Dak, Godwin, Robinson, Galladay, Fuller.
Okay, similar.
Mine is similar as well, but I have 2 different players. I have Galladay, and then I don't have Levante David or Will Fuller. Number 1, I have Dak Prescott. Number 2, I have Kenny Galladay. Number 3, I have Shaquille Barrett. Number 4, I have Chris Godwin. Number 5, I have Allen Robinson.
That's crazy. We're pretty similar.
Did you have Will Fuller over Robinson?
I took out Kenny Galladay.
No, Will Fuller's my last one. He's number 5.
Okay, that was the only issue I was gonna have.
He's number 5.
If you had Will Fuller over Robinson.
He's number 5. Don't worry. That's crazy.
Will Fuller had a pretty good season until he, got caught.
Yeah, he did have a great season, guys. I don't know. I don't think he's top 10. I believe that all 3 of these could make an argument for being around 8, 9,
sure.
10, 11 spot.
Yeah.
Where I think
for sure.
I think Fuller's more 14, 15 range.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least.
He was breaking out this year though. Once Hopkins left, like even last year, he was playing well with Hopkins.
You expect that though.
He went from number 2 to number 1.
Yeah.
And then obviously Houston's playing from behind a lot, so they're gonna be jacking the ball up and he's a speed guy, right? So he just runs straight and catches the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, he'll get you lots of touches.
Yeah, he's still good.
So we don't have much controversy there, which is surprising for the first time ever.
Just wait, though. Just wait.
I'm so shocked that Max didn't have Richard Sherman as number 1.
Because I don't know anything about football. So come on.
So getting off that, we'll go right into our free agency predictions. Like I said, we have about 18 names. I don't know about what these 2 did, but personally, I based my list off of team fits. And I did a bit of money, who has money and who is willing to spend money in free agency. That was just me, but I don't know what
well, I think what we should do is, because we have all the same list, I think we should go through each player one-on-one. Like,
that's what we're going to do. Yeah, we'll do that. Because then people...
Because we're all in the same order, because we post them in the same order.
I went the same. I did basically team fit. I took into money for a couple guys, but normally like the bigger guys who are going to get a lot of money. Other than that, like team fit, I didn't pick too many people to go back just to their team they were at last year, just to keep it interesting.
You had 5, right?
Yeah, 5.
I had 5. You had 5. I had 6.
Out of the how many?
18, I think I
18.
counted.
So like one third of my players are
How many
going
do you
back.
have? You had like four. You had like 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But
So we're all around like the same.
Just to keep
sort
it
of-
interesting, it's kind of fun to see where people could
These
go.
probably aren't going to be right. Well, we might get a couple right.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 2.
There's a lot of people that are probably going to go back to their team, or like you never know where someone's going to go. It all depends.
Yeah. So for myself, do we want to start off?
Yeah, we'll just go.
Yeah.
Our first player on the list is Aaron Jones, who last year was the running back of the Green Bay Packers. For those of you who don't know, I think we all know that B-Well is sad.
Yeah, I'm
that
sad.
we all have him leaving the Bucks.
I
mean,
can't-
not the Bucks. What am I saying?
Packers.
The Packers.
I can't go first. I can't.
Personally, I have Aaron Jones signing with the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are in need of running back. You know, they were fighting for a playoff spot this year. They were 1 win away from getting into the playoff spot, but of course, who they play? They played
The Bills.
Good. Yeah, they played the Bills.
And the Bills didn't play their
The
guys
Bills-
the second half. They got smoked.
Yeah, they did. But just Aaron Jones is going to take that. Personally, I don't like whenever running backs get paid a lot because I feel like it's not that hard to find an above average running back.
Yeah.
But whenever a top 7 running back in Aaron Jones enters free agency, he's going to get paid. The Dolphins have money. They have an opening at running back. That's where I see him signing.
Okay, well, I'll go next just because I also have him going to the Dolphins.
We all
have
you do too? Okay,
Yeah,
well then go ahead. You go ahead then.
Well, I have nothing else to say. Noah basically said everything I wanted to say. One main thing, this is kind of not really football related, but the fact is going from Green Bay Packers to Miami. Like that's
cold to warm.
Cold to warm. Like he needs that. I would want that. You know, he's been there for quite a while. Yeah. So yeah, I see him.
One reason why Brady signed with the Bucks last year.
Yeah, exactly.
I just.
Why wouldn't you want to go to Miami?
That's true. I also think, just like money into account a little bit. The Miami Dolphins have a lot of it, and they also have a plethora of draft picks that they can use to bulk up their roster other spots. And if they can pick up a guy like Aaron Jones, so they don't have to use a draft pick on a running back, they could be a good team next year for sure.
So our next player is Shaq Barrett, who last year played for the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we have different ones here.
Probably.
I definitely know that I have a different one than you guys. This might be a bit biased, but I have Shaquille Barrett going to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are in win now mode with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan getting up there in age. They had like the 28th ranked defensive pressure rating last year in the NFL.
They did not.
They're up near there.
Yeah, the team I picked them to go to was the 28th.
Okay. Well, they're up there. Okay, my bad. They're up there. They showed last year that they spent money on a DN and Dante Fowler. That didn't really work out this year, hoping he has a bounce back season. But if they end up getting Shaq Barrett on the other side of him, and you also have people like Grady Jarrett in the middle, that will bump up their defense, and which was one of their main flaws last year, which I would know because I watched a lot of their games. Maybe a bit of Atlanta Falcons bias coming in there, but he just fits the bill for what the Falcons need.
I mean, it's a good fit for sure. Like, they're losing games 32-34 every week. So their offense is good. It's the defense that needs them to go. I got him going to the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are the 28th defense pass rusher team. So, yeah. Just like kind of the Falcons, the Tennessee Titans, their offense, it was great last year. It was just their defense that killed them, and a guy like Shaq Barrett would greatly improve that. I basically got same arguments for Noah, just different teams, but same position really.
All right, so I had him staying with the Bucks. I know it was kind of a boring pick, but just from what I've been reading and what I've been hearing, it seems like he really wants to stay there. Just after a Super Bowl win too, it's like really hard to want to leave that type of organization or that team. So I mean, it'd be interesting to see him go elsewhere. I mean, he is clearly making a name for himself early on, so I'd like to see what he does. But my bet is that he stays home. So.
Fair enough, yeah. Our next player is Allen Robinson, who was the wide receiver for the Chicago Bears last year.
The only wide receiver.
Before we say who we are, I read this morning on Instagram that he has not talked to the Bears front office since the season started. They haven't even reached out to him about possibly returning, but they did also say that he is willing to return to the Bears. But personally, that didn't change my prediction at all.
Didn't change mine. The thing I read to say what you were saying is he would come back if Trubisky or Foles wasn't their starting quarterback.
Oh, okay, I didn't read into
He
that.
said they need a new quarterback, and he would consider coming back. But if if Trubisky or Foles is their quarterback, he's gone.
Okay.
Which is fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So wait, where do you have him going? You have him as the Jets?
No, yeah, I have Allen Robinson going to the New York Jets. Obviously, Jets are pretty brutal. They kind of screwed their chances of getting Trevor Lawrence by winning a game this year, which usually you don't want to say is a bad thing about winning, but they did screw their chance. But personally, they have lots of money. Allen Robinson is a top 10 receiver.
Oh yeah.
In my eyes. So they will throw money at him. They have Sam Darnold. They might not. We don't know what they're gonna do in the draft, holding the second pick. They could go quarterback, but whoever they go with, whether it's Sam Darnold or someone like Zach Wilson or Justin Fields in the draft, you want to put weapons around him, and Allen Robinson would be a great weapon for a young quarterback to get to know and get chemistry with. So personally, I have him going to the Jets.
For sure. You want to go?
Yeah, so I have him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, actually. So he was just there recently. But yeah, I have him going there. The Jaguars are going to be picking up Trevor Lawrence. They also have Clark Jr. in there at wide receiver. So they're also a team that wants to spend big this season, or this offseason, sorry. So I see them making a big push to want to have a guy like Allen Robinson on their team. Yeah, so.
I'm a little off the board from those guys. I have him going to the Washington football team. I think he's been in the Bears organization long enough that he wants to go to a team where he has a chance of making the playoffs. I mean, he made the playoffs last year, but did it even really count? They were the extra team. I mean, the Washington football team has lots of money. He deserves a big payday. He would probably get it with them. They'll probably throw him an offer. And that 1-2 punch on that receiving core for Washington would be nice.
Agreed. Very good choice. Our next free agent is Kenny Galladay, who is formerly a wide receiver of the Lions. I think Max has him staying because I was kind of peeking over at his thing, so we'll let him go last. Do you have him leaving? No? Okay, I'm the only one that has him leaving, so I'll go first.
Okay.
This one was kind of like my bolder take. I have Kenny Galladay signing with the Baltimore Ravens.
That'd be fun.
You know what you're getting in the run game. They have a great run game. J.K. Dobbins started to sort of emerge as their number one back this near the end. But Lamar, for him to improve as a thrower and a quarterback, we know he's a great runner, but he's not a top thrower yet. He can definitely get there. But having people like Hollywood Brown has not panned out. Miles Boykin's not the guy. And Willie Snead's just a below average receiver. You put something like Kenny Galladay there, you have a receiving threat for Lamar, and you also have to think about his ground game. So personally, this one's probably one of the more, probably not going to happen, but I just figured I'd throw it out there because it makes a lot of sense.
And me and Max have him going to the Lions. I read a post, staying with the Lions, sorry. I read a post that he wants to stay with the Lions. He likes being in Detroit.
Who would ever say that, though?
I don't know. I don't know. When I think of him, like, he just seems like a loyal type of guy. I don't know why. But, I mean, he's probably going to get a big payday if the Lions throw him a bunch of money.
If he's coming back, they're going to franchise tag him.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading that, too.
Yeah, he's going to get a big bag.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to stay.
I 100% agree. Seems like it. I mean, it'd be kind of like... I agree with what Noah's saying about how it would be really cool to see him at the Ravens, but I just see the Lions, like, why would they want to give him up, right? Like, they know that what they have here, and I see them, tagging him for sure. They might as well. He might not necessarily get exactly what he wants in terms of that big long-term deal, but otherwise, yeah, I see him staying with the Lions.
Okay, moving into our next free agent, we have Justin Simmons, who last year was the safety for the Denver Broncos. I'll go first again. I also have him going to the New York Jets. The Jets secondary was depleted last year. Marcus May was all right. Again, they have lots of money, and last year Simmons was tagged by the Broncos because he wanted top safety money. I don't think the Broncos will want to give him that. I think they'll definitely offer him a contract, but I don't believe they think he's worth top money, which is again why I have him going to the Jets. Jets have lots of money; they can throw it at him. Building that secondary up. To me, this is just like a money situation for him. The Jets have lots of money, so that's why I have him going there.
All right. Well, I unfortunately, so I do admit I would like to switch up my picks a little bit. I have him going for the Broncos, but I really would like to see him somewhere else. But I do see him having a franchise tag. So you have him going to the Jets. I would like to see that as well. That's what I want to see. I'm not saying that's what I'm gonna see, but I see him staying with the Broncos just because I know that they've already made it public that they want to have a franchise tag on him as well. So yeah,
I'm with Max. I think he's gonna stay. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't really know where this guy. I don't know where any of them are gonna go, but this guy in particular, like, I've read tons of things saying he's not going to get franchise tagged. I've heard plenty of posts saying he is going to get franchise tagged. The Denver Broncos don't have a lot, and he's definitely one of their top pieces, and I think they might want to try and keep that.
Yeah, I agree.
I got no idea with him, though.
Our next free agent is Dak Prescott, quarterback for last year was the Dallas Cowboys.
I think this one's pretty easy.
Yeah, we all
have him going back to the Cowboys. He's going to either get a massive deal or he's going to get franchise tagged.
One of the two.
The Cowboys made it pretty obvious that he's their guy.
Yeah.
I don't really think we have to go into too much discussion about that.
No.
Our next receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, or Corvette, whatever. But he was last year the wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anybody want to go first?
I would have him leaving, going to the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah, I see him going there, like in the Miami type life. I definitely see Juju being that type of guy. I don't know exactly how it went in the locker room with the Steelers, but after last year's, kind of like, I don't know, up and down. Like, obviously they had a good season, don't get me wrong, but he definitely kind of later on caused a little bit of drama that wasn't necessary for the Steelers, and it seemed like the Steelers are kind of, in the past couple of years, had that happen quite often. So though he is the high-level wide receiver in the league, I don't necessarily see him stay. So
you have Miami getting real good in the season.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Jones and Juju.
They have the opportunity to go.
They have money.
They got the money for it.
They got the money.
They got the money for it.
I see them. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
You want to go?
Go ahead.
Personally, I have Juju staying with the Steelers. He came out earlier in the offseason and said that Pittsburgh is the place he wants to be. Whether the Steelers listen to that, I don't know. I also believe that he's a great fit. He was in the slot this year, and if Big Ben's their quarterback next year, his arm strength is going to start to diminish. He's going to play into his 39-year-old season, so the slot is going to get lots of targets. He played in the slot this year. They liked him in that position, so I just feel like he's the best fit for the Steelers.
I have him leaving the Steelers and going to the Raiders. The reason I picked this is because if Pittsburgh signs him to another contract, they're hurt for Chase Claypool and what's the first guy? Johnson? Deontay Johnson. And then they're basically canceling themselves out of like a J.J. Watt or anything like that. I think the Raiders are kind of underrated, especially I don't think people give Derek Carr some of the respect he deserves. They got a great tight end in Darren Waller, and the receiver core could be like a Smith-Schuster-Ruggs combo, and I think that could be kind of nasty, and it'd be fun to see.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice. It's fun to see. Give Derek Carr another weapon out there. See if Henry Ruggs can get a bounce back. Our next free agent is Hunter Henry, the tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. Last year at least. I will go first. I have him staying with the Los Angeles Chargers. Henry's always been sort of like a wishy-washy type player, and he's also very injury prone. But I believe that he wants to stay because obviously it's LA. And Justin Herbert had a very good rookie season this year, and he came out and said that he wants to play with a good quarterback. I don't know if that was throwing shade at Herbert.
No, it was like
saying that Herbert is a good quarterback, which I do believe he will be a good quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So I just think, LA is going to want to keep as many weapons for Herbert as possible. You already have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the outside. If you keep Hunter Henry, that offense is stacked along with Austin Eckler in the backfield. So I just feel like the Chargers will try to retain him. I don't know if they will, but that's just my pick.
I read that too. I read that he wants to play with a good quarterback, and he wasn't when I read the whole thing, he wasn't throwing shade at Herbert. He was saying that Herbert is a good quarterback, and for him to leave the Chargers, he would have to be going to another team with a good quarterback because he believes he's got a really good one in LA, which he's got a point. I could see him staying for sure, but I have him leaving. I have him going to the Seahawks. Like we said, he wants to play for a good quarterback, and what better quarterback than Russell Wilson? The Seahawks, we can't really talk about Chris Carson yet, but because he's coming up, but they got a great receiving core, and a big tight end like Hunter Henry would definitely help that out.
For sure.
So I have him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, just because, similar to what you guys are talking about, he wants to play for a good quarterback. I think Jaguars are getting that quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Along with that, they have $76 million in cap space right now, and they are fishing for sure. So I see them lacking in tight ends this year, and I see Hunter Henry definitely filling that hole for them. He did say that he does want a good quarterback, so that checks off the Trevor Lawrence part, and he also wants the financial stuff to work out too. So I think Jacksonville can offer him that, maybe even more so than Chargers. So who knows? But yeah, if he does go anywhere, I think it'd be there.
This one might have some controversy. The next free agent is J.J. Watt, defensive end, formerly of the Houston Texans, and we can definitely say he's not going back to Houston because he got cut. I don't want to go first because I went first last two. So
go ahead, Brandon.
So here comes Brandon's bias.
Okay, this might be a little biased, but hear me out. I got him going to the Green Bay Packers. It might be biased, but I have reasons. The four teams I've heard so far that are in the front runnings are Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and just recently I've heard the Bills are in and around. I don't think the Steelers can do it just because, if they sign Juju and then they got all the receiving core to sign, they're just kind of, just like the Packers, they're in a little bit of cap trouble, but I also don't think JJ would want to be in his brother's shadow of sorts. It'd be fun to play with your brother, but at the same time,
both
but some could say he was in his brother's shadow. And again, he wants to be in a contender, and the Browns are in a super hard division. Whereas again, the Packers are in a relatively easy division with their main problem being pressure, and that's what he serves. So I think it's a possibility. They just have to clear up a lot of cap space.
I'll go next. I have J.J. Watt going to one of the teams Brandon mentioned in the Cleveland Browns. Personally, it was just a lot of fit, and the fact that he'd play his brothers twice. I don't know. I just thought that'd be a pretty cool storyline. But if you put J.J. Watt next to across the D-line from Myles Garrett,
that's scary.
That's very scary for quarterbacks. You better hope that your offensive line has two great tackles, as well as the storyline of him going against his brothers twice a year. I considered him going to the Steelers, but like Brand said, they are a bit cap they're not cap friendly right now. So I don't know if this will happen. But I just thought it'd be a cool storyline for him to do with the Browns, and I do believe the Browns are a playoff contender. I don't know if they're a championship contender, but I think that they're relatively playoff contenders, so I just have him going there.
All right, so I had him also going to the Cleveland Browns. It was close. Obviously, he's not going to the Texans. My other pick would have been actually the Packers, so for once we're all agreeing on something today.
The Browns would have been my second choice.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So yeah. I see him going to the Browns just because, one, he says he wants a good quarterback. He wants He wants a contention for a Super Bowl, and he also wants a good supporting cast. So the Browns check off all of that. They have Myles Garrett, they have Baker Mayfield, and they were just in the playoffs last year. So I see him most likely going to the Browns, but it seems like he's got, being realistic, I don't think any of us actually know. We don't have any idea because
we're not NFL analysts. So.
I don't even know. But you look at
we live in Canada. There's no football,
for sure.
NFL football teams in Canada.
You look at anything on social media or even just anything, he has made no sort of indication. I want to go here. I want to go there. He's basically just kept it very quiet, and it seems like he's still not even satisfied with what people are offering him. So I don't see any decision making coming soon, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah.
Good points. Our next free agent is Lavonte David, a linebacker, formerly or last year played for the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Personally, I thought this one was the easiest, other than Dak. For me, I have him going back to the Bucs. He was the longest tenured Buck on this team that won the Super Bowl this year. Why not keep him there where he's been his whole career? It's a great fit. Him and Devin White could possibly be the best linebacker tandem in the league if he resigns. Brady's coming back. They're going for another Super Bowl. Why not bring back your leader on that defense? So I have him staying with the Buccaneers.
I'm with Noah. Like basically everything he said. I know. Max, you had Shaq Barrett leaving?
Yeah.
We all had Shaq Barrett leaving, but like with Lavonte David.
No, Shaq Barrett. No, I had Shaq Barrett staying.
Oh, okay. Well, me and Noah had him leaving.
Yeah. Shaq Barrett staying.
But even though I had him leaving, like Noah said, Lavonte David, he's longest running Buck. It's hard to imagine a world where after a Super Bowl winning season and the money they have, they're not going to throw these guys contracts and try and go back to back. So I see him staying as well.
All right, so my worries, I don't have enough. I don't see the Bucs getting rid of him. But if there was anywhere for him to go, I do think I'd really like to see him on the Buffalo Bills, just because the Bills already have a pretty awesome roster, and if you add him to your defensive core, your linebacker core, I think that changes a lot for the Bills. Like if you give Lavonte David to the Bills, you can have an actual conversation of them beating the Chiefs next year. That's my personal opinion.
And they're most likely going to lose Matt Milano. He said he's testing free agency.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. So
imagine him and Tremaine Edmonds linebacker.
Lavonte David would be a great matchup against Travis Kelce. Like that would be a nightmare for him. So, I want to say he leaves and goes to Buffalo, but at the same time, I can't argue that the Bucs definitely want to keep him, probably more than Shaq Barrett. Maybe I'm not 100% sure.
I'd say it's harder.
It's hard to
he's
tell,
gonna be cheaper.
Edge
rushers get paid in the NFL.
I mean, I think Tampa Bay is just going to throw money at basically everybody that's in free agency that was on their team just to try and go back to back.
If not more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is a good enticing to come, so they'll find people, and people will come back just for that reason.
Yeah. Moving on, our next free agent is Richard Sherman, formerly.
Can't believe none of us had this guy in our top 5.
Sherman? Oh. Have Richard Sherman, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know who wants to go or.
I have
Max's
him going
favorite player.
Yeah, so. I have him going back home not back home, but to the Seahawks. I want to see him go back to the Seahawks and reclaim his glory that he always has deserved. I don't really have any reasoning behind it other than the Seahawks are a team that can afford him. He's not that expensive, and they're missing someone at that area a little bit right now. Not nothing huge, but their defense is lacking on the outside of it. So,
personally, I have him going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs had a pretty weaker secondary, other than their rookie. I forget his name. Probably bad that I forget his name. And then they also have Tyrann Mathieu. But you've seen the Chiefs throw one-year deals at veteran players. Last year in Terrell Suggs and LaShawn McCoy, and this year in Le'Veon Bell. So they're not opposed to throwing one-year deals at former very great veterans. Personally, I think Richard Sherman is still a great cornerback. He's probably out of his prime by a year or two, but he still will make more of a difference than like Le'Veon did this year or Shady did this last year. He fits the bill. I think he wants to win again, and I have him going to the team that beat him in last year's Super Bowl in the Kansas City Chiefs.
I have him going to the Cleveland Browns for pretty similar reasons to Noah. I feel like he's getting older in age and he wants to win. Cleveland's got the money to give him because I don't have them getting J.J. Watt. And this defense was it was iffy. It was good some weeks, terrible some weeks, and adding a veteran definitely would help that. Cleveland.
Our next free agent is Will Fuller, the fifth wide receiver or PD user of the formerly Houston Texans.
I want to go last. This is my bold one.
This is my one that you will be happy with. I have Will Fuller going to the Green Bay Packers. He was rumored to get traded there by the trade deadline. So what better way to make that rumor technically true is than sign him. Personally, I think you need to add help around Aaron Rodgers to help him win that next championship. Sure, if they bring in somebody like J.J. Watt, like Brandon said, I don't think he's coming. But if they sign maybe someone not as good as J.J. Watt to go on their D-line that's a free agent, I think they can still afford him. You have Devontae Adams. You have Robert Tonyan, who had a breakout year this year at tight end. If you add Will Fuller, that's just another threat that Aaron Rodgers can use. And personally, I believe that it'll put them over the hump and they will be gunning for the Super Bowl next year. So I have him signing with the Green Bay Packers.
So you guys both had him going to the Packers?
No.
No? Okay, so I had him going to the Packers. I originally had him.
Well, I have J.J. Watt going there, so they wouldn't be.
I had him originally going and staying with the Texans, but I didn't do enough research because he is not staying with the Texans.
He wants out.
They want him out too. Like they don't need him.
It's mutual.
It's mutual. They don't want that roid head. So, yeah, he's out, and I think he would be great on the Packers, just for the reason that he's a good complementary piece with Devontae Adams, and then if you have J.J. Watt, that team next year will be really entertaining. So I hope to see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just for the fact that they have the opportunity to buy him, they have that money, and and it's an opportunity to actually see maybe a really competitive team next year, even more competitive than this year. So.
Okay, so somewhat bold. I got Will Fuller going to the Carolina Panthers. They have the best running back in the league, arguably. I don't even know if it's that arguably.
Shouldn't be.
Their wide receiver core is pretty decent.
Pretty good.
Yeah, the reason why I think it's bold is because I think Will Fuller going to Carolina is going to start a trade that gets Deshaun Watson to Carolina. I think your Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson are going to go to Carolina and team up again.
That's bold.
That's very bold.
That's very bold.
But they would be sick, though. They would be sick.
Now I know what you mean by that division getting.
Yeah, the division would be tough now.
Yeah. Where does Deshaun Watson go?
Deshaun Watson's gonna go to Carolina with Will Fuller.
So he's not a free agent.
He's not a free agent,
right? But
they're gonna trade Teddy Bridgewater.
Where do you guys think Deshaun's actually gonna go?
Carolina.
You think you can? Jets?
I hope he doesn't
go to the Jets.
I don't either, but they have the most.
I don't want him to go to the Jets.
They have the most assets.
Oh, don't go to the Jets, please.
He said he wants to go to.
Don't go to the Jets.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Really?
Yeah, he came out.
I want to see him play for a good team.
He gave his preferred destinations, and the Jets were one of them.
The Jets were like the top. He was.
It was Jets. It was the Jets in Miami, and then now Denver and like Carolina and like San Fran are becoming.
I would love to see him in a good team. On a good team.
The Broncos and Panthers are serious contenders for Watson.
Hey, maybe it's not that far off. If they get Will Fuller, they can trade Teddy and like a couple firsts or something.
Panthers move up for quarterback.
The thing in the trade. So moving past Will Fuller, as Max still looks at.
As Max gets amazed.
As Max gets amazed with Deshaun Watson trades. Probably the weirdest free agent, in my opinion, Jadeveon Clowney. Formerly of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go. Let me make sure. I'm terrible. Who did I have going?
Can you hurry up, please?
Yeah, okay, so I had Juju going to the Raiders earlier, and I also have Jadeveon Clowney going to the Raiders. With this prediction, Juju going to the Raiders would have their offense great. I mean, in a division with Kansas City, you got to buff your defense up. And I think this would be a great ad. We saw what happened to the Chiefs when Tampa Bay got some rushes on them. And for the Raiders to kind of contend in a division like that, you need to add one to your team. So, Raiders.
Personally, I have Jadeveon Clowney going to the New England Patriots. Patriots, I believe, can still contend for a playoff next year if they get better this offseason. I don't think Cam Newton's the guy at all. But putting Jadeveon Clowney on your front seven will help that front seven out a lot. Personally, I think he's a bit overrated, but at the same time, he will give an immediate impact to a front seven that didn't get very much pressure. If the Patriots find their quarterback and surround him with some weapons this offseason, I believe that defense is still good enough to sort of like aid them into the playoffs. Adding Jadeveon Clowney into the mix gives the already good defense of the Patriots just that much better. So personally, I have him going there.
Okay, so I have him going with my buddy Mark Lepage's Cincinnati Bengals. Decrease in salary cap this year, salary cap space, and the unknown state of affairs money-wise over the long term could force some major free agents into 1 year deals. So I could see him going to the Bengals just because they can offer that, just like a 1 year, $13 million type deal.
He's definitely going to get a 1 year deal. He got a 1 year deal last year and he didn't really prove it with the Titans, so he's going to want another one.
Exactly. So something like the Bengals, they seem to be a team that kind of, I don't know, would be looking for that more so than other teams. They're more desperate, I'd say. They have, seems like their defense, like, I don't know what their defense looked like last year, but
not Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Wow. They're not.
I don't like. I knew they were in a good team overall, so it couldn't have been that great. But yeah, what I'm reading here,
they're young.
He'd be an upgrade for the Bengals defense. He'd have a role in Lou Anamura. I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's probably just their D coordinator.
Yeah, so
Mark would like that.
Be interesting to see, but I don't know too much on Clowney, honestly. He's not that entertaining for me. So
just a little out of the loop. I just want to ask a quick question just to see what their answers are. No arguments, no nothing. Just quick one person answer.
Okay.
If Cam Newton isn't your starting quarterback, who's the Patriots starting quarterback next year?
Well, like,
just a quick name, just random. Who do you think it'll be if it's not Cam Newton?
I don't know. I don't know who they're looking for.
I'd say Mac Jones. He's a quarterback out of Alabama in the draft.
You think they'll sign one?
No.
I mean draft one.
I think they'll draft one because they have I think they're on the. I could even see them moving up for a guy.
Yeah.
I see them drafting too, and I don't know who that is.
Maybe even then. At the same time, I read this. I see them drafting and then signing a bridge quarterback.
I saw like a Teddy Bridgewater and like a Sam Darnold talk.
I saw Sam Darnold for sure, but personally, I think like they have around the 10th or 11th pick. Either they move up or they hope a quarterback falls there, or even they move down and get Mac Jones, who's supposed to go in the later first round. He was a Heisman candidate this year, so he's definitely one of those top guys. But I also see them drafting a quarterback and maybe signing like a Tyrod Taylor or somebody along those lines to be sort of like a bridge quarterback for him.
Yeah. We didn't have that plan. I just think with
it was definitely going to be interesting.
The Patriots are always, with Bill Belichick, you're always going to try and be good. So I just wanted to see. I don't think Cam Newton's the guy either.
I don't either. I think Cam Newton.
Wrong fit.
Speaking of Cam Newton, I think he's going to the Washington football team.
That would be fun.
Reunite with Ron Rivera.
That would be fun.
So down to our final three free agents. Our first one is Chris Carson, formerly the running back of the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm making someone really happy with my pick. I'm going Evan Menard, Buffalo Bills. Yeah. I mean, really, the only thing the Buffalo Bills don't have on their offense is an all-star running back. Yeah. I mean, they have a running. What's his name? Daniel Moss.
Singletary.
Yeah, but Singletary's
not.
Zach Moss. He's younger.
He's a rookie.
Wasn't he a rookie? Yeah, he's a
and then
rookie. So
Singletary was second year.
adding like a Chris Carson as your number one, and then having Zach Moss as your number two, I think that would be a great fit in Buffalo, and that would just add to an already top offense.
Yeah.
I have him staying in Seattle. Seattle really didn't really have any good backups this year. They had Carlos Hyde, who they're not going to re-sign, and they had some other running back. I forget his name. Anyways, but
I had him in free agency for one. I had him in fantasy for 1 week because everyone was hurt, and he did all right. I don't remember his name.
I see him staying. I think he'll either sign a massive deal or get franchise tagged. But Seattle is still going to try to win. If they upgrade their O-line, which they should massively prioritize this offseason, I believe he will stay if they get an upgraded line. So,
I have him leaving, going to the New York Jets, just on the off chance that even if the Seattle Seahawks do upgrade their line, maybe they don't have enough money to keep him. I see him maybe going, to the New York Jets just because he's a hard-nosed runner and kind of has that similar mindset to how the New York Jets want to play.
They need a runner.
And they need a runner, exactly. So, I think that's an obvious candidate is New York Jets for sure.
Second last one, sort of like probably the weakest free agent on our list, but I figured it was kind of like a interesting one, is Jameis Winston, backup quarterback of the New Orleans Saints last year. Obviously, Drew Brees most likely retiring is going to make it a lot more interesting for what these two have. Personally, I'll just go ahead and start since I was already talking about him. I have him staying with the New Orleans Saints. If you sign him for 1 year, when you already have Taysom Hill, they're going to want to hold on to him. He probably got a lot of knowledge from Drew Brees, who's probably easily a top 5 quarterback of all time. Just that knowledge that he gained the last year, and him already being a first overall pick in 2015 or 14, one of those two drafts. He's not a bad quarterback. He just throws lots of picks, and maybe him, like I said, being under Drew Brees' wing last year got him better, and I feel like the Saints will want to try him out there as their starting quarterback this season.
Do you have him staying?
Nope.
Okay, well then I'll go. I also have him staying, just kind of like Noah said. Being under Drew Brees, you definitely learn a lot. I totally agree with Noah. I think if he does stay with the Saints, it's probably going to be a 1-year deal to try and prove himself to get a big paycheck next year. They're total opposite quarterbacks, basically. Drew Brees is a smart, short.
That's the first thing you say.
Yeah, Drew Brees is
smart.
He's a smart, short thrower.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't though.
What?
Just the last couple of years.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking since James Winston would have been in the organization.
Yeah.
And James Winston is known to
launch it,
be wild and launch the ball. So it's a total change, and I would like to see how the Saints play with a basically a different quarterback.
All right, so I have him going to Chicago Bears. Interestingly enough, this isn't my words. I actually read up on this, and I thought there was a really cool excerpt here that talked about Winston going to the Bears, and they say Winston combines elements of the last 2 long-term QBs in Chicago: big arm, draft pedigree, questionable leadership abilities, and poor decision making. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's something that the Chicago Bears seem to really, really enjoy on their roster. They go on to say that, Chicago needs to gamble this year. I feel like their offense last year needs to get back on track. And despite Winston's flaws, like his turnovers and some character flaws as well, he's still a tremendous talent. So I'd like to see him go to Chicago. I think that'd be a really interesting land for him, and I think it'd be a really interesting team to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like you said, the post you read, it said Chicago needs to take some risks, and like we were talking about earlier in the podcast, if they don't take risks, they're losing Robinson, and if you don't have him,
who do you have?
Who's your offense? Who would be the number one guy? So Montgomery.
He's an alignment.
Oh, why is
Montgomery? I guess, but
I added him on
fun.
this, but I didn't put him on mine.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I
added a player on this, but then I forgot to put it into my version.
Where? Who?
Godwin.
Oh, you didn't put Godwin in?
No.
Oh, we have him.
Yeah, you had
And
him.
we don't have that.
We don't have him either, so we can just switch him for.
You just. Yeah.
He's the only one.
I mean, Godwin's, I
I know
think,
who
is
he is.
pretty easy. I don't know about
I'm
you
saying
guys.
he's staying.
I think he's staying.
After what Mike Evans said about how he's gonna cut salary to keep the team the same, and how Godwin wants to be there and running it back with Brady,
Makes
I think
sense.
he's staying. So
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Like we said earlier, they just won, and why would they get rid of a guy like Chris Godwin?
Yeah.
I mean, and why would Chris Godwin want to leave? I mean,
the only way he's not gonna stay is if he gets paid a lot of money to.
Some team would have to offer
and
him
he
a
gets
lot.
proved, and he gets told like, yeah, you're our number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way.
I don't know if a team would do that.
So that was our last
We've already been an hour.
free agents. I
It's
think
been 40 minutes.
40 minutes,
Oh,
so we
okay.
could probably do these overrated, underrated pretty
Yep.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We each pick two teams. Like always in our prior episodes, we just say if we think they're overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated.
Zion's definitely underrated.
Here we go again.
He's
Wrong
not.
spot, buddy.
Literally the day after we did our podcast, my social media exploded with Zion because he had like a big game or whatever. And it was all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's,
And then LaMelo, I sent it to you.
Yeah,
We were talking about LaMelo.
Like,
It's like LaMelo.
I was
how it's
watching the game.
How the highlights posted like LaMelo's taking over the fourth quarter. We made 1-3. I checked fantasy. He's like 3 for 10, 7 points, 5
Yeah.
rebounds, 2 assists.
It was against
But
Golden,
Zion's
it was
actually
against
playing
Golden
well and
State
getting
when
points.
Terry Rozier actually took over the
I
game.
can't
It was
believe we're talking about
crazy.
this again.
Yeah.
I was just joking. So.
Yeah, you brought it up.
Draymond Green.
We'll let B-Wall go first because his team is first.
I'm just saying,
Should we do
9-0,
them
that's
first?
all.
This might be the most
Okay,
controversial.
we'll do them last. We'll go
Yeah.
my team first.
Okay.
My first team I picked was the Seattle Seahawks. Do you want me to go first?
It's
Wait,
your
the
team.
first team's not over. The first team's not controversial because I agree with you. It's
Yeah,
only him.
yeah,
It's
but-
Yeah,
just
exactly,
me.
and it's going to be
It's
controversial.
gonna be quite interesting. I'll leave it to the end.
Okay.
I personally have the Seahawks as overrated. The only way that I can turn flipped and turn scripts, right, and put them back to perfectly rated or underrated is if they upgrade their O-line. Russell Wilson was pretty mad at the end of the season about the amount of times he got sacked. I think he was the most sacked quarterback all year. Same flipping script again. I'll go to their defense. Their defense was pretty weak this year. Other than their linebackers, I think they need to upgrade their pass rush and their secondary. Their safeties are pretty good, but their corners got burnt significantly. So I have them as overrated, but I could, like I said, turn them if they make the right moves this offseason.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
All right, so I have them as perfectly rated just because, although maybe this moment they might be considered not necessarily a team that going into the next year you want to favor just because they had these recent struggles, but I would argue that going off of my free agency predictions and what I think, if you have Chris Carson leaving and you actually do sign Richard Sherman, that can help your defense out a little bit. And then if you can also have Chris Carson leaving, that means you're probably putting more money into your O-line. So with that happening, I see them being perfectly rated just because you still have Wilson. You still have that good defense. Not great defense, but good enough. And if you fix up that line, then you could definitely see Seattle making a push next year, like a really good push. So, yeah, it's me.
I'm going to be boring and sit on the fence with Max. I'll say they're perfectly rated. I mean, I see the Seahawks as a team who people project to make the playoffs, but that's kind of about it. The first half of the season, their offense was great. Their defense was terrible. The second half of the season, their defense started to pick it up, and their offense was pretty brutal. They couldn't get it going together all at once. I see them losing Chris Carson in free agency. I don't see them as Super Bowl contenders. I don't think many people do, but I think they're a playoff team for
You
sure.
can also say that they're probably playing right now in the hardest division in football.
Yeah.
Other than the NFC, I don't even know NFC South. I think is with Atlanta and Tampa Bay and the Saints, but they have you got the Stafford now led Rams,
Which
who made
we'll
the
talk about
playoffs
in a
last
sec.
year.
We'll talk about
We'll talk about them in a minute. You have the Cardinals, who had
They're gonna make the
I'd say a
playoffs.
disappointing year, and then if San Fran figures out their quarterback situation, let's say they somehow end
But
up
that doesn't
trading.
make them overrated.
I'm just saying that personally, they're in a hard division only.
All
Yeah.
four teams.
All four teams next year have a chance to make the playoffs. I was just about to finish the 49ers. If they somehow end up trading for Deshaun Watson, which they have been rumored to be in the running for him, and they have a fully healthy defense coming back, you're getting Joey Bosa back, who tore his ACL. they're a scary team. They made the Super Bowl 2 years ago for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And then they had a disappointing season because they weren't healthy. Like, that's a really hard division, and not all 4 teams that will make the playoffs next year
And you could make an argument for all 4 teams
being playoff teams.
Like any team. I mean, the Cardinals are still a little too young for me, but I could see the 49ers, the
Hopkins and him are
Rams,
just
or
gonna
the
get
Seahawks
better.
winning that division. The Cardinals they're a playoff team. I think they're a wild card team. A little too young.
So Max,
That's
your
hard.
team's next.
All right, so I have the Cleveland Browns.
This might be debatable as well.
So I have them as underrated, slightly underrated, not to a large extent, but just because although they proved to a lot of people last year that they can make a run into the playoffs, and when they played the Chiefs weren't that healthy. I still felt like they proved that they are a contender moving forward, and their team doesn't seem to be getting any worse. It seems like it's only going to get better. Just going off of I'm riding the Browns train. I think they're going forward, not backwards. And with Mayfield, I think there was so much talk about Mayfield for the first couple of years that I think it really screwed with him as well. Like the fact that there was so much pressure on, is he going to be able to take this franchise out and actually do something with them? I think because of last year, that stress is off his back a little bit, and I think that gives him more opportunity to be that much better. And if Odell comes back and can actually do something good for this team as well, then that further helps the team. So yeah, I think they're slightly underrated right now.
Oh, next, I know what you have them as. I have the Browns as perfectly rated. Earlier in the free agency signings, I had them signing J.J. Watt, which is a pretty massive upgrade for them. Personally, I'm not the biggest Baker fan in the world. I have him as slightly overrated myself. But they had the 4th best O-line in football last year. They have Nick Chubb. They have Odell if he doesn't get traded. They have Austin Hooper. They have David Njoku, Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, they're loaded.
They're pretty loaded, but they also, again, like I said about the Seahawks, they're in a hard division. You got the Steelers, who are a respectable team. They made the playoffs. You got the Ravens. I don't know who the 4th team in that division is off the hand. And I think it's the Lions.
I really want to see that push. Like, it'll be interesting to see, because that division.
The Bengals.
Oh, the Bengals.
Trash.
So you got 3 good teams in that division. Again, I think all 3 of them made it this year, but there's some AFC teams that are going to get better this year.
I see the Browns getting better, though. Would you say that?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them.
We all have them getting at least one person in free agency.
Yeah,
so.
but you have them as overrated because.
I'll go. So I don't hate the Browns. I'm not saying they're not a playoff team, but I think they're a little overrated. They were the only team to make the playoffs, have a negative score ratio. I mean, Baker had a good year, but it's his first good year. I'd like to see another one before I'll put trust into him. I kind of am doing the complete opposite of Max's argument. Now that Baker's had a good year, I think there's more pressure on him and the Browns to play well, and I don't know if they're going to be able to make expectations. I hope they do, but I just don't see them beating a team like Buffalo or Kansas City, or I don't see the Browns as a conference title team. So in my mind,
I want to see them.
I think they're a playoff.
Buffalo.
They're definitely a playoff team. They're a great team, but I don't think they can make it to Final Four.
No, it's
Agreed.
tough.
I just had perfectly rated. So.
Yeah, I have them as slightly underrated just because.
Yeah,
I want.
I just feel like a lot of people are saying that they're like a powerhouse.
No, I'm not saying.
But
that.
I don't think they are yet.
They're definitely in the right.
All right,
They're definitely going.
They're going in the right spot. I'm not hating on them.
Yeah.
They're a fun team to watch. But
All right, so
You're up.
your Rams.
the Rams, okay. Personally,
We all agree on this.
I think we do all agree on this.
Yeah.
really,
Unless
I have them as underrated.
Yeah, we all do.
Okay.
It's underrated.
I think adding Stafford is a piece that should be talked about more than it is. He was kind of playing on a bad Lions team, and Matthew
How
Stafford.
bad Goff was.
Yeah,
Goff was pretty brutal.
It's a good replacement.
Like, the Rams have one of the best defenses in the league. People forget that Aaron Donald was hurt.
Jalen Ramsey,
Yeah, and who? Not Cooper Kupp.
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods was hurt against Green Bay as well in the playoffs. Their defense is great. Their offense is great. Adding Matthew Stafford is going to be like, even just the fact of not having to defend, not having to start to defend on your own 40 after an interception every second drive. Is gonna help.
I think we can just, honestly, me and Max don't really have to talk, because like I'm really going to repeat everything Brandon said. We both have him as underrated, so we'll just move on with that one.
I'd even say that they weren't even like, I don't think anyone gave a shit about the Rams last year. Like, they were talking.
They weren't supposed to make the playoffs.
I know. Like, no one really gave a shit about the Rams. That's
and then once they lost to the
reason.
Jets, everyone was like, "Oh, well, they're terrible. They're just not
exactly.
it." But I mean, people forget that in the game against Green Bay, it was close basically until the fourth quarter.
Well, I loved that game.
And the Rams were hurt.
Yeah. I love that game that they had against the Seahawks. So they closed out Seattle well.
That's how the Rams can play when
They're rushed.
they're playing the way they, like, when they're not throwing interceptions. It's a boring way to play.
Yeah.
But it wins.
Good. Yeah. Moving on to the next team. I had the Saints. I have it as overrated.
Nope.
Okay.
You?
Yep.
Okay.
Overrated?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
me
so
and Bevo both have them
what?
overrated.
Let's
That's
just
fine.
I have them as perfectly rated.
That's fine. You're allowed.
But I have no reason to. I have no reason.
Can I say why I have them overrated?
Yeah.
You know, they had a top 5, like I said, top 5 quarterback of all time, Drew Brees. Personally, he was a bit washed this year. They might be losing a couple pieces on their defense because they are free agents. And replacing Drew Brees with Jameis Winston will take some getting used to. They have Kamara. They have a great O-line. They have great weapons. I just see, like, if Brandon's free agency signing comes true, as Deshaun Watson going to Carolina, that's just one more team there that the Saints are going to have to fight with.
Exactly.
And I always want to say that my Falcons will do well, even though they probably won't.
Just to piggyback off Noah, like they're going to take a step down, but I think people are still putting them as a playoff team, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they're not, with, like Noah said, the predictions I have of Watson and Fuller joining the Panthers to make that division. The Panthers a good team, the Bucs a great team. I mean, Noah's got some free agents going to the Falcons, and if the Falcons pick up some defensive players, they could be a good team. And then we were also talking about, you have to make a wild card team with the Rams and the Cardinals and the Seahawks and the 49ers.
Dolphins.
Like,
Dolphins in there.
No, they're not in that division.
Who is going to be their quarterback? Like,
who?
Jameis Winston, probably.
Like, I wonder what happens when he leaves. Like, that'll be...
Well,
I
mean, lots of teams are in that, like the Bears, and a lot of teams are in that. But like Noah said, I mean, people expecting them to take a drop, but I don't think people... I think people still have them in the playoffs, and honestly, with the NFC being as loaded as we predict it will be, I would not be surprised if they don't make it. So what do you think?
I think, so I did have them as perfectly rated, and the only reason I would have them as perfectly rated is just for hope that they don't get rid of their players. If they have Jameis Winston, I had Winston leaving. Like, I can't.
Yeah, but your point. Your point is valid because the Saints are still a good football team.
The one thing I can say is I think Alvin Kamara is a beast.
Yeah.
And, like, if he continues being a beast, then they got something.
They have people on their team that can take over games.
Exactly. I like Taysom Hill as well. He's awesome. And
okay.
Well, he just beat the Falcons a couple times.
Yeah, I know. Twice, and
you don't like him?
Because he beat the Falcons.
Just because I haven't picked him up in
he started
fantasy.
That's why you're saying
He's a quarterback starting at tight end. That's the reason why
Hill started like 4 games, and 2 of them were against the Falcons.
Anyways,
so.
I'm gonna say perfectly rated just because.
That's fair.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't even like them. Like, I remember watching them last year and watching Drew Brees getting knocked out, and I was definitely a fan of that. I don't know why. I was, so.
Our next team is Max's. I'll let him go ahead with it.
Alright, so I had the Chargers as underrated, just because
So do I.
they have Justin Herbert coming back for another year. Also, the fact, honestly, Noah, why don't you take this one away?
I have the Chargers underrated.
I don't have enough information.
I had Hunter.
Why'd you pick this team then?
I had Hunter Henry staying in free agency. That puts perfect weapons around Justin Herbert. They have a decent I'd say above average defense. You know, Derwin James was hurt last year. They still have Joey Bosa. They have Casey Hayward. They have Chris Harris Jr. as their corners. Those are some really great pieces on your defense. If Herbert continues to take that next step and they continue to go in the right direction, I believe that they will be fighting for a playoff spot next year. That is personally why I have them as underrated.
To be boring again, I have them as perfectly rated. I mean, I have Hunter Henry leaving. I don't have them getting anybody. They're in the same division as the Chiefs, and in my free agent predictions, I have the Raiders getting 2 good pieces. So I have a good Raiders team in there as well. Honestly, the Chargers aren't really highly talked about as like
that's why I was
a big
saying
playoff
underrated.
team,
That's
and
the only reason why.
I see the Chargers finishing at like an 8-8 or 9-7 record,
Well, I
and
think it'll be better than that.
I don't think they're going to be any better than that.
I like Justin Herbert.
I like him
So do
too,
I do. I like Keenan Allen too.
But just like with my predictions, I have the Raiders getting really good.
The Raiders, yeah.
Yeah, and they're in the same. It's like the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. So.
Well, I see the Chargers getting better than the Raiders.
But that's
It's
a prediction.
controversial,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
We're going to move into our last and probably most controversial
right.
team of this. Me and Max are basically going to rip into B-Well.
Yeah.
And B-Well's going to try to defend
I'm just
himself.
trying to go not biased here.
You're
a Cowboy hater. So
we are.
I'm not a Cowboy. I'm not a Cowboy hater or
I
lover.
like to
I'm
see
just looking at the
reason
team.
and reality, that's all. But
Okay, so here's my reality. It's the Cowboys. I have them as slightly underrated. I don't think they're crazy underrated. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender or anything. But they dealt with some key injuries, like at some points.
The most underrated team in the league.
No, they're definitely not.
No? Okay.
Like, don't trust me here. I'm not pumping the Cowboys up like you guys think I am. But they had to use their third string quarterbacks at times. I have Washington picking up some pieces, but that could be totally wrong. So that's a very shaky division.
That's very true.
I mean, Philadelphia's.
That doesn't make them better.
But I think they could win that division and be a playoff team.
Right.
And I don't think people. I mean, I think when people talk about that division, they really are only talking about Washington at the moment, and I think the Cowboys could battle them for that top spot.
I'm not. Okay, I'm
Dak Prescott, man. Dak Prescott.
I'll say my last thing, then you go, because you're gonna have the. You're gonna. Anyways, I have them as overrated just because I think this whole America's team thing just needs to come to a close. It really needs to stop because there's so much freaking obsession over these guys doing well, and it's so obvious that they're not run well. Their franchise is not run well, and I don't see anything in the near future working out too well for them because their number one running back has, although he should be a number one running back. What happened last year with Zeke? I don't see it's dysfunctional. Fair. The only thing that I can say I do like is Dak Prescott, and I also like their new wide receiver.
They got a good wide receiving core.
Who's their? Why am I not? I'm forgetting his name.
No,
not Amari Cooper. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. I really like CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to turn into a talent. I think he's really good commercial-wise for the Cowboys, but I don't see them as being that good of a team.
Before Noah rips into me, I just I totally agree with Max in the spots where the Cowboys are extremely talked about, highly talked about, and I personally do not like the Cowboys. I don't like watching their games, but just in an biased standpoint. I'm not saying you guys are biased. I just think that.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But anyways, I see where you guys are coming from for sure. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I have them as overrated.
Go ahead.
The only reason that they are not going to be the only reason I have them mainly is overrated. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong.
They're not a good team.
But the only reason they're
a good team. Their offense is great.
I think they're okay. I'll go into this. They're overrated in my books because they play in the weakest division in football.
That's true.
Whenever you have a team coming out as a negative record, then you have them having a chance in playoffs is not really fair.
So why does that make them a good team, though?
I think
I think their offense is good, and then this is where I'm going to go to their defense. Their defense is atrocious.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No secondary help whatsoever. I am a Dak fan. With everything he's been through, you got to give him some some love there. But also the reason he was putting up so much stats last year is because, you know, they're down by about 20 at halftime. You got to start chucking the ball. You know, you have that great receiving core. They're going to come down with the ball every so often. He's putting up stats, but they're a bit inflated because of that. I hate Jerry Jones. He's a moron, personally. But he's going to spend money. Should be a good team, but I have them as overrated because whichever team comes out of that division will be considered overrated.
Can we argue that the NFC North this year is worse than the NFC East?
What's the NFC North?
The Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, the Lions.
I wouldn't agree with that.
This year,
I could
this
see
year,
it,
though,
but
Washington,
I could see it, but I don't agree with it.
Like, you can make a case. Washington is going to get better. The Giants are getting Barkley back. The Cowboys are getting Dak back.
I want to see what happens.
And the Eagles are going a full year with this new quarterback.
I was going to put the Giants instead of the Chargers originally, just because I thought the Giants were, with Saquon back and Jones actually doing quite well on his own. I could see them.
Debatable.
Well, no, not quite well, but like he's doing okay. I think he's
got this last year.
Yeah, like in the North, the Packers are the only team.
If he doesn't perform this year, he's done.
Oh yeah, sure.
In the North, the Packers are the only team I see being above 500, and in the East, I could see.
I see the Vikings still being up there.
People always feel like they're going to, and then they just never perform. It makes me happy because I'm a Packers fan, but it is kind of frustrating. But yeah,
wrapping this up, that will be it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to never miss an episode. Also, we started Instagram. I will leave the link to our Instagram down in the description. Go follow it, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.